onslaught of attacks against so many of our community members. The point is to sow confusion and to make it difficult to be able to keep up and push back and fight back on things that we know are rights for people in our communities. But it's really important that when we see something coming, especially from the federal government, but happening anywhere in our community, that we stand up and call it out and work and do everything we can to change it and to push back. And just 2 weeks ago, we saw the federal government try to cancel nearly all upstate naturalization ceremonies for people across this state, driving them to New York City or to Albany. And the naturalization ceremony is something that is supposed to be a joyous celebration. It is the culmination of years of hard work, of sacrifice. It's celebrating people who have chosen to make this country their home. That's something we should be celebrating. They have gone through the legal system, done every single thing that the government has asked of them, has directed them to do, spending money, spending their time. We should not be making it harder for people at that last step to actually become a naturalized American citizen. That's something we should be celebrating. And now, just this week, the federal government has canceled 3 local ceremonies that were scheduled for this week because of numbers. We'll hear a little bit more about the details from our county clerk, but it is my opinion, I believe it's everyone's opinion here, that it should not matter how many people are scheduled for a ceremony. If they are planning to come and celebrate that moment, we are ready, we should be ready, and we are ready for one person to be able to take that oath. It does not matter. I love a minute clap. It should not matter the numbers. In our view, that is an arbitrary cancellation because they are trying to make it harder for people in this country across every sector. And I want to just take a moment and shout out some of the we'll hear from a number of speakers here, but we're gathered with a lot of folks who are standing in solidarity with us. And I'm sorry if I miss anybody, but I will try. We've got a great group here, but we got our county controller, March Gallagher here. We have Manajo Green, Ulster County legislator. We've got Steve Noble, the City of Kingston mayor. We have Aaron Levine, county legislator. We have Peter Criswell, chair of the legislature. We've got our friends and allies from Hudson Valley Strong, from the Caring Majority, from Indivisible, from the Kingston Children's Home. And we've got Dominic, recently elected, soon to be in the county legislature, and many others. And so send me if I've missed anyone, sorry. But I want to make sure that we can hear quickly because it is chilly. But this is an incredible showing, I'll close in this moment, an incredible showing of people who come together very quickly to push back on what we're seeing from the federal government and stand up for the community members who have done the work, they've put in the time, they've spent the dollars, they care about this community, they care about this country, and they want to be here for the long term. Canceling these naturalization ceremonies is one of the most un-American things I think that we could do, and we have to push back against that and support people who want to be here. And so with that, thank you. I am going to introduce our Ulster County Clerk, Taylor Brooke.
Thank you, Michelle. And thank you everyone for coming out on this chilly morning. As we like to say when we do events like with our indigenous community, when it's 100 degrees out, the suffering is part of it. Unfortunately, in this case, we can suffer for a few minutes because our neighbors and friends are going through much, much worse. So I'll give you just a little background on what's going on with the naturalization ceremonies. The federal government has been implementing new policies really for the last year to make legal immigration more difficult. The naturalization tests that you have to take, they've made more difficult. There are more questions, you have to get more correct and so on. For our ceremonies locally a few months ago, for all of the state, county clerks used to be reimbursed for hosting the naturalization ceremonies per citizen. They removed that reimbursement. Then they made it so that no third-party organization could hand out voter registration forms. The League of Women Voters always came and handed out voter registration forms with us, so that was very frustrating. And then about 3 weeks ago, they said that, as Michelle mentioned, virtually all upstate ceremonies were going to be canceled indefinitely because our courts did not meet the statutory requirements. And they sent us the statutory requirements, which included things like having a seal and a court clerk. And as the court clerk with a seal on my desk, that was bogus. And they seemingly agreed, and they said, okay, they rescinded those cancellations. They said you can have your ceremonies back. And then the week after, they said, okay, now they're canceled because we don't have enough candidates. And that has never happened before in Ulster County that I know of. In the past, there were multiple times where we've had fewer applicants than expected, but we just hosted a smaller ceremony. There's never been a threshold, there's never been a quota, so this all seems to be new. It seems like they're just grasping at straws to find any way they can to cancel them and not have them locally, which is very frustrating. At the same time, they're telling people to come in the front door. They are effectively blockading it from the other side. It's wrong in every way. It's very convenient for our local folks to have their naturalization ceremonies here. They act not just as celebratory events for them, but educational events. We invite school groups to come learn about the process, and we're hopeful that going into 2026 we can continue to have them. We had really big plans for 26, being the 250th anniversary of the country. We were going to try to host like multicultural fests around the ceremonies to really celebrate our diversity, because that is what America is all about. It's always been what it's about, especially in New York. The American experiment, the question is whether or not people from all over the world could live in one place and govern themselves successfully. And there's nowhere on the planet that proved that more than New York. And celebrating that is really important for the 250th next year. So we're hopeful. But thank you all again for coming out and trying to let USCIS know that we really care about this stuff. And I'll pitch it back to Senator Hinchey. And thank you all again.
Thank you, Taylor. We are so fortunate in Ulster County to have such an incredible county clerk who is always standing up on the right side of all of our issues and willing to speak out against these injustices and, quite frankly, atrocities that we're seeing inflicted upon our communities, especially here in Ulster County. I'd like to bring up another champion that we have here in Ulster, our county executive, Jen Metzger.
Many individuals work for a long time. It is a very long road to become a U.S. citizen. Many more people want that opportunity and don't get it. And to deprive people who have done this work, who have been looking forward to this day like nothing else, of the chance to have the dignity of a ceremony in our courthouse is just wrong. And as you've heard from our county clerk, the excuses are bogus. I want to say that this is very terrible. I also want to say that it pales in comparison to what our fellow community member, Ali Sajjad Fakhrizadeh, is experiencing right now in a detention center in New Jersey, facing potential death if he is sent back to his country, or the many individuals from the 19 countries that now have no chance of becoming citizens. Their naturalization process has been stopped for no reason. We have naturalized many people from those countries in our own courthouse, in Eritrea, from Haiti, from Togo, from Venezuela, from Iran, from many countries that are incredibly dangerous, where people fear for their lives. These are people here that have worked hard to become citizens and they are members of our community. And we stand by them, and we will continue to fight for what they deserve, which is to be citizens of our country and citizens of our community. Thank you.
Thank you, County Executive. As she said, this is a continued attack on people, from immigrants and people who want to be here in this community. They're finding every angle they can to make it harder and nearly impossible for people, and to deter other folks from wanting to live the American dream and seek their American dream. They're working to send this message across the globe that we don't want people here, but we do. We want people to come to America. We want to diversify our communities and to make sure that everyone has a shot at a better life, and to be able to flee places where they are seeking persecution and death. We are a safe space for people, and that is critical. That's what we were built upon, and that's what we stand for here. And it's really important, as you see, that we continue that message for everyone, both in Ulster County, in the Hudson Valley, but beyond. I'd now like to introduce Dan Torres here on behalf of Congressman Pat Ryan. I lost you, Dan. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Hinchy. First, I actually really want to thank Senator Hinchy for both organizing this today, but being a constant advocate, champion, and defender for our community as well. So thank you for joining us today. Also really want to thank County Clerk Taylor Bruck. You know, our county clerk's been in the news a lot, and it's not just because he likes headlines, it's because he has the guts to stand up for these things that impact counties all over the state of New York. So there's a reason why we keep talking about these things in Ulster County. So thank you, Taylor, for that. Yes. I know Assemblymember Shrestha is not here today, but she's also been a tremendous advocate. And I know specifically that this issue is very personal to her as well. So I just wanted to thank her too. And of course, our hosts in the county as well, everyone here too. Congressman Ryan is in DC today, so he's unfortunately unable to be here when I know very much he would like to be here. So I want to just read a quick statement from him on his behalf as well. People who come to this country, who come to our community to build a better life for themselves and their families should be commended and rewarded for their hard work, not shunned by our legal system without warning or reason. I've been to these ceremonies. They're joyful occasions representing the very best of what our community can be. For USCIS to cancel previously scheduled hearings for people that have been on this process for years, decades even, is a fundamental slap in the face to our community and the American dream as a whole. Canceling naturalization ceremonies for people who have followed every legal process, met every qualification, and gone to every court date is more than wrong. It's deeply un-American. The Hudson Valley deserves answers, and we won't stop fighting until we get them. And the Congressman has also sent a letter to USCIS demanding answers to these questions about why these ceremonies have been canceled, what information is given to those applicants and how they are being treated as well, and to see what, if any, policy actually exists related to the quotas to hold these ceremonies as well. And we will certainly update you when we get those answers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan. And Congressman Ryan has been an incredible champion, and we're so fortunate to have him at the helm for us in Congress here too. So thank you, and pass along our great thanks. I would now like to introduce Teddy Archwager, who's the Director of Community Affairs for Assemblymember Shrestha, who also couldn't be here today, but has been a great champion and has gone through this process herself, and I know would want to be standing here if she could be. So Teddy.
Thank you. Thank you to all the previous speakers. As a few people have mentioned, this is a personal experience for the Assembly member who's sorry she couldn't be here today because she's at an Assembly conference as state legislators prepare for next year's session that begins in January, so I'll be reading a statement on her behalf. As a new American who got naturalized right here at the Ulster County Courthouse, I found my experience to be the kind of welcoming and stabilizing experience I needed as I started my life in a new country away from home and most of my family. The current attacks on naturalization ceremonies is just one more way the federal administration is declaring that the United States is no longer a welcoming country. That in fact, if you are an immigrant who is just trying to follow the rules, you're likely to get snatched up by ICE agents at federal buildings. Here in Ulster County, we have people in many levels of government who believe in building communities that are welcoming, compassionate, collaborative, and solidaristic. And that's the world we'll continue to build as we stand here together in solidarity with everyone who wants to call this country home.
Thank you, Teddy, and thanks to the Assembly member for all of her work in so many spaces. It's great to have her as an advocate with us. I'd next like to introduce Victor Cueva, who's the Executive Director of the Ulster Immigrant Defense Network, who is on the front lines here of all of the attacks that we are seeing in our communities. And I want to say a big thank you for your work and your entire organization for everything that you do for the folks who need it here in our community. So thank you.
Thank you everyone for having me today. Aside from being the executive director of UIDN, I also am a career-long immigration lawyer, and most importantly, I am also a naturalized citizen. So I want to shed more light about the process that I went through and that all these folks have gone through. Before you can even apply for naturalization, you have to become a lawful permanent resident. That can take decades. It can take several years. It takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of vetting. You have to submit fingerprints. You have to go through background checks and interviews. It can range anywhere between 3 years, 10 years, depending on the manner in which you obtain your lawful permanent residence. You can do that through a family petition, through an employment visa. You can win literally the lottery and be able to immigrate to this country. Either way, it takes a lot of time and effort navigating this complex and unjust system to be able to get to that point. Once you become a green card holder, a lawful permanent resident, you have to then wait 3 years or 5 years to be able to apply to become a U.S. citizen. That application, again, entails interviews, more vetting through fingerprint submissions, money, and time. After those 3 or 5 years have gone by, you can then apply for naturalization. With the backlogs, it takes maybe 2 years for you to get an interview, to go through more vetting, for your good moral character to be assessed. And then after that, you have to pass the civics exam, an English written exam, and an oral exam. Once you do all of that, then you get scheduled to do the naturalization ceremony. And you have to do the oath. The oath is a legal requirement. You cannot be a U.S. citizen unless you do the oath, and that's a component of these ceremonies. For me, personally, it was a great honor to be able to have the sense of accomplishment to achieve the American dream, because despite these anti-immigrant policies, immigrants still believe in the American dream. And when I was there doing my oath of allegiance and vouching to be a productive member of this country, I can't imagine the feelings that these folks have right now to just get these canceled without any justification or bogus justifications, and being deprived of this privilege and honor to be called a U.S. citizen, especially with the upcoming holidays. So I joined my colleagues today, Senator Hinchy, all our county leadership, in demanding the government to reinstate this and allow these people that have gone through many years, spent all this money, all this vetting, to have that same honor and privilege of being able to do the oath and complete the process to achieve the American dream. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Victor. And I just want to take a quick moment of, we lost someone this week who was one of the founders of UIDN, Father Frank, and he was such a crusader on these issues. He was someone who was always on the right moral side, and boy, will we miss him, especially now. But we stand on his shoulders from all of the work that he, and so many others, but all of the work that he led over decades. It's on us now to continue his legacy and move it forward for those in our community who need help the most. And so I just want to say a big thank you to Father Frank and the entire community, and we miss him already dearly. I would now like to introduce another partner in this incredible work, Brian McCormick, who's the Executive Director of the Columbia County Sanctuary Movement, who has also been in these trenches. Thank you.
Thank you all for having me here today to join you all in what is just the latest struggle for equity in our communities. I want to remind everybody that the oath that was mentioned, part of that oath is to defend the Constitution and the laws of the United States. an oath that the federal administration should be reminded of as they dismantle them day after day. It is just another sign that has made it abundantly clear that no immigrants are safe in our community. If this is how naturalized citizens are being targeted, and we have heard from other speakers about what other community members are going through, imagine the daily lives of our undocumented members with Columbia County Sanctuary Movement and Ulster Immigrant Defense Network, what those lives are like on a daily basis. I live and was born in Columbia County, and I am here to oppose the cancellation of these ceremonies, and also our county doesn't even have a ceremony because the federal government has determined that our county is too small to have their own ceremony. So not only do we call for the reinstatement of Ulster, Dutchess, and Putnam ceremonies, we call for the birth of Columbia County and Greene County ceremonies as well, because everybody should have access to their naturalization ceremonies. I also want to take this opportunity to encourage all of us to use this as a moment of unity to continue our fight back. We can not only show up for people who are becoming naturalized citizens, we have to show up for everybody. And I am honored to stand here with Senator Hinchy, who has led that, who has co-sponsored and been a champion of so many important pieces of legislation to protect our communities. And I would be remiss to not mention them today because they absolutely have to be won in this next legislative session. We must win New York for All to prevent law enforcement and government agencies from collaborating with immigration enforcement. We must win Dignity Not Detention to prevent private detention centers from being built in the state of New York and local jails from being paid to incarcerate immigrants. And we must also pass Care for Immigrant Families, which will be first in the nation guaranteed right to representation in immigration proceedings, as well as the funds needed to expand the legal landscape here in New York. I'm happy to join you all, and I hope you will join us this legislative session to continue fighting for these key pieces of legislation to protect our communities, as well as to reinstate these ceremonies. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. And yes, we have some great pieces of legislation that we need to get past this session, and we will be fighting collectively for that starting in January when we go back. And I know the Assembly member, I'm sure, is talking about those right now at the Assembly retreat. So with that, I want to thank you all. It's chilly. The sun is slowly inching this way, which I'm happy for you all. But I want to thank you all so much. In this moment, it's really important to be able to stand together and to come together to both call attention to what is happening and the attacks that we're seeing from the federal government on our community members, but to also be together in these moments to show that we are not alone and they cannot divide us in the way that they want to. That's what makes it as easy as possible for them to push forward things like these cancellations and do it under cover of darkness. We have to make sure that there is light. We have to make sure people know. That's what got those reinstated 2 weeks ago. And so we have to keep on the pressure because we will make sure that we're protecting not just those who are going through the system, who want to become naturalized citizens, but those who are also choosing to make this the community their home, who don't have the rights today on the books that they deserve because we know they are human rights. So thank you all again for being out here today. And Nicole, thanks for showing up. And I think, we can take some questions, we can do them outside or here, but everybody doesn't have to stay up. People can go get warm. You're welcome to hang around.